Hey everyone, welcome back. Hope you're having a fantastic day so far. So we've heard in recent months that the Social Security Administration has been clawing back payments to a lot of beneficiaries on Social Security for different reasons, overpayments, things like that. But we just learned that 1 million more beneficiaries are now going to have their payments taken back as well. Obviously, this is causing a lot of financial stress. So we'll be covering that and what you can possibly do about it if that happens to you. Plus, Donald Trump and Social Security. Well, at a town hall in Iowa, he disclosed what his plans were, a little bit interesting ones. And really, what are his plans with Social Security? I'm not really sure if anyone knows, but we are going to go over those plans. But before we go ahead and dive into the main content of today's video, if you wouldn't mind helping me out real quickly by just giving this video a like, that just helps out with the good old YouTube algorithm, and also consider subscribing to my channel if you have not already. Also, if you would like to receive a few free stocks in a pinned comment below as well as in the description box, I will be leaving a few different links where you can receive just that. And with Webull for this month only, as long as you open an account and deposit at least 1 penny, they are going to be sending you 20 stocks for free. Each stock is going to be worth at least $3, possibly even more than that. So it's going to be at least $60 in free stocks. And at that point, you can always sell those stocks and then transfer the $60+ right back to your checking account. So if you are in need for some extra money this holiday season, that is certainly one way to do so. So first up, we have Donald Trump. He was at a town hall in Iowa a couple days ago. He spoke about our whole debt situation in the United States. We are currently $34 trillion in debt. And now every single year, $1 trillion of the debt is going up just on interest payments alone. These aren't going towards anything. Just interest alone is $1 trillion. So he spoke about that and also talked about how he would save the Social Security program. Watch.
You brought us to energy independence for the first time in 75 years. Before you ran, I remember we had many discussions about energy independence, and you're saying that you would, in a second term, you will push America to be the most energy dominant country on earth, and that you could pay down that $34 trillion in debt, and we won't have a $1 trillion interest payment every year.
That's right. We would get it way down. And, look, so it's Biden inflation. That's what it is. What he did with energy is unbelievable, because energy went up so much, gasoline $5, $6 a gallon, that's what caused inflation. Now it's all over the place, but you have 29% total inflation. Now when it holds up, because the economy is starting to slow down very substantially, so when it holds up, he's saying, well, we don't have too much inflation. But he doesn't talk about all of the inflation that you've had to suffer over the last 3 years. No, we will have numbers like you've never seen. We have a thing in Alaska called ANWR. Ronald Reagan tried to get it approved. Everybody, Bush maybe a little bit, he didn't work as hard. But we have ANWR in Alaska, the biggest anywhere in the world, including probably Saudi Arabia. I got it approved. I was so proud of it. They ended it in the first week. They ended it. They turned, we'll get it back. But we have more than anybody. We have more wealth than anybody, but we don't use it. And then guys like DeSantis and guys like many of the Democrats, but guys like DeSantis and to a lesser extent, Nikki Haley, they want to play around with your Social Security. You don't have to touch Social Security. We have money laying in the ground far greater than anything we can do by hurting senior citizens with their Social Security. Ron DeSantis wanted to bring up on Social Security. Now, of course, he says, well, I wouldn't. But one thing I learned about politicians, I've known them, I've dealt with them on the other side for a long time. Their first thought is always the thought that they go to. He wanted to raise the minimum age, the age on Social Security to 70. That's a big increase. But he also wanted to raise it to 75. If that happened, people would be devastated. We have such incredible wealth under our feet.
So basically, in Trump's plan, we would be drilling for oil in Alaska. Then we'd use that oil to sell to other countries. And all the money that we got from the sale of that oil, we would use to help fund Social Security. Now, this is certainly an interesting plan. Whether or not it would cover all the payments that we would need, we'd have to look at some data for that. And also, he really took aim at his competition in Ron DeSantis and Nikki Haley. Both happen to be Republicans running against him. And that's fine and all. It's his competition. But really, Trump himself, even though he's bashing people like Ron DeSantis and Nikki Haley for raising the full retirement age to 69 or 70, he himself back in 2020 was talking about cutting payroll taxes. So basically what payroll taxes are, if you're an employee, out of each paycheck, you're going to have 6.2% taken out for Social Security and then around 1% for Medicare. So you have a little bit taken out of your paycheck, and then of course your boss or your employer matches whatever you had paid in. And then of course if you're self-employed, you happen to pay the full amount, so it would be 12.4% towards Social Security. So Trump actually, for a temporary basis around the times of COVID, he had like a permanent cut of payroll taxes. And then he said that if he was elected, he would be making those tax cuts permanent. So if you made the tax cuts permanent of the payroll taxes, well, payroll taxes is what ends up funding Social Security benefits. So workers now who are paying that payroll tax, the 6.2 to 12.4%, they're actually funding the people who are currently receiving Social Security benefits. So if you made those tax cuts permanent, well, how exactly are they going to fund Social Security? And you can see right here, according to the Washington Post, that President Trump pledged on Saturday to pursue a permanent cut to the payroll taxes that fund Social Security and Medicare if he wins re-election in November, a hard-to-accomplish political gambit that some experts see as a major headache for the future of the country's entitlement programs. He said, quote, "If I'm victorious on November 3rd, I plan to forgive these taxes and make permanent cuts to the payroll tax," Trump said at a news conference in Bedminster, New Jersey. He said, quote, "I'm going to make all of them permanent." So there we have Trump pretty much saying that he was planning on making that permanent. Now, I guess in a way they could fund Social Security another way, maybe off of federal taxes, but as of right now, that's how they fund these Social Security program is through these payroll taxes. So if he wants to cut them, that's pretty much essentially cutting all Social Security payments altogether. You can pretty much kiss your Social Security goodbye if they did go through with that plan. Like, of course, but they also mentioned there that it's not something that he could do unilaterally. It would have to pass through Congress. More than likely, it would not happen. It would not have bipartisan support. But then again, we also had Trump saying other things as well, not to cut a single penny from Social Security or Medicare. That was most recent this year in 2023. So according to Politico, former President Donald Trump issued a warning to Republican lawmakers on Friday: don't lay a finger on entitlement programs as part of the debt ceiling showdown with the White House. He said, quote, "Under no circumstances should Republicans vote to cut a single penny from Medicare or Social Security." So, you know, we kind of have two sides. One side, he's basically saying to cut it all together by cutting the payroll taxes. But then here we have him this year saying not to cut a single penny from Social Security or Medicare. So obviously we have some very much mixed messages coming from Trump. Not that we really are hearing anything different from Biden. Biden, of course, came into office promising a $200 raise for all Social Security beneficiaries. He also said that he wanted to raise the special minimum benefit by $485, which is what it would come out to. So far, we haven't really seen Biden push for any Social Security reform or anything that would really help Social Security beneficiaries. Meanwhile, he's been trying to cut $20,000 of student loan debt. So for people that with student loans, he's trying to help out a good bit. But for people on Social Security struggling with all of the inflation that has been taking place, we haven't really seen him care too much. Now, in some other bad news, of course, over the past month or so, you've heard about all those people receiving letters in the mail saying that they were overpaid, and now they actually owe the Social Security Administration hundreds, if not thousands of dollars in overpayment. And obviously, this is going to cause a lot of financial stress because we've been having a lot of hard economic times, and people don't really have this money sitting around in their bank accounts to pay back the Social Security Administration. So according to KIRO 7 News, the Social Security Administration has demanded money back from more than 2 million people a year, more than twice as many people as the head of the agency disclosed at an October congressional hearing. That's according to a document KFF Health News and Cox Media Group obtained through a Freedom of Information Act request. Acting Commissioner of the Social Security Administration, Giolo Kijaski, read aloud from the document during the meeting, but repeatedly left out an entire category of beneficiaries displayed on the paper as well. And of course, this week on 60 Minutes, correspondent Anderson Cooper reported on what happens when Social Security overpays people who receive benefits. Beneficiaries may find out years later that they owe tens of thousands of dollars, even if it was not their fault. During the 2021 fiscal year alone, the agency estimates it made approximately $6 billion in overpayments, according to a report by the Social Security Administration's Inspector General. So obviously, this is a huge problem for people to be receiving these payments all these years. Maybe they don't know that there's anything going on, that they are being overpaid, but then to receive a letter maybe, months or even years later saying, hey, you actually owe us back, let's say, thousands of dollars. Well, again, you don't necessarily have this money sitting around to pay back the Social Security Administration. But let me know in the comment section below if you or anyone that you know received one of these letters and how exactly they were dealing with it. But right from the Social Security website, they said that you might actually be eligible to have these repayments waived in certain cases. They say to ask us to waive repayment of a benefit amount that was more than it should have been. And if you got a letter in the mail that says you were overpaid and need to pay us back, you can request a waiver, ask us to waive repayment if you can't afford it and feel the error wasn't your fault, or if you believe the overpayment is unfair for another reason, and they might ask you details about your income and expenses. So that's definitely something you should definitely look into if you do receive one of these letters. Obviously, it's a very stressful, hard thing to deal with, especially this time of year, holiday season. Just wish the best for anyone who does happen to receive one of these letters. It's just, life is stressful enough around these times, but receiving one of these letters has just compounded the stress. But that's all we have for today's video. Certainly hope that you enjoyed and found value out of it. If you did, again, I would greatly appreciate it if you could give this video a like. Consider subscribing to my channel if you have not already, and I will see you in the next video.